What does someone need to allow the feminine within to flourish? What does a woman need? What does a man need? What does a person need to allow for their feminine to flourish? This is a big conversation. There are very few beings on this planet who don't either consciously or unconsciously long to express feminine more often. I have been in circles with thousands and thousands of women, thousands and thousands of women. Very few women don't crave to express the feminine more frequently or deeper or truer or fuller. So let's talk about this. If we're longing to do this, if we are longing, and just feel for yourself or feel into a person you're close to who's a feminine essenced being, but feel the longing, and let me give you some feminine words. Longing to be instead of do. Longing to soften, relax, flow, open. We'll do a quick embodiment practice. So allow your hands, you can be sitting for this, even though I say stand a lot. Allow your hands to just flow in like a figure eight form. Or allow your hands to just flow in some way. Allow your arms and your hands to flow in some way. Maybe you allow your body to flow, but it's flow. It's not rigid lines. And if you're like, I don't know how to do this, just go with the figure eight. It's really, really easy. Really, 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 really easy. And you can almost feel in just that, your body response, right? Anxiety goes down. Stress goes down. You almost come into your body in a different way. You become embodied in a different way. So when I'm talking about feminine, and we're going to go into a few different ways, maybe 3, 4, 5, I don't know, however many we'll cover in this exploration. But when we're speaking about the feminine, it's the force that moves through all of us. Some of us are just more strongly linked to it. Some of us, we all have, it's like personalities. All of our personalities are different. Also, the way that we long to express, or how deeply or how often or how connected we are to the feminine, to the masculine, and how we deeply, authentically, truly crave to express which one, in which areas of our lives, how frequently, how deeply, how fully, is very, very different. And that's a whole beautiful exploration into self, a whole beautiful exploration. I'm going to do some sort of masterclass on that at some point, so pay attention. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, that's a really great place to always stay on top of all of the stuff that we do, all the free stuff we put out, all of the challenges, all of the free retreats, also all of the in-person events and in-person retreats and online retreats and events that go on. So you'll find a link here and down below to sign up to get all of those things. But if we start to, just let me wrap that thought up really quick, is just honoring that we're all very, 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 very unique, right? My unique blueprint, let's call it our masculine feminine blueprint, like the authentic blueprint, not the one that our family told us was valuable, because I know my authentic blueprint, the deep, true, authentic blueprint of my masculine and feminine and how they dance and weave is very, very different than what the conditioning I had to work through around family norms, around social conditioning, around cultural conditioning, around, this is a strong one, for me, masculine is much more valuable than feminine. Masculine is much more valuable than feminine. Masculine makes you money, feminine does art, has no use. That's a whole nother topic in itself, right? We'll park that for another time. If you're interested and you really want to hear that, leave a comment in the comments below and just say, like, really want to go into values on things. But let's come back to focusing in on how, regardless of our blueprint, how we can meet this longing to feel safe, to express the feminine. This longing to be okay, to be in our feminine. This longing, let me feel really quickly what will most serve this moment. This longing to be love. This longing to simply be love. To be creative life force essence. This longing to be so connected. This longing to be so open, so receptive, so alive, so awake, so vivacious, so full of vitality, so full of pleasure and bliss and juice and almost like magic, mystical gloriousness, right? And the gifts that we can't even imagine that come from that way of living. How do we create a space for that? How do we do that? One is, let me phrase this as from this term, because this will be helpful for my mindset and just helpful for us to find a language around this. If I were to create a retreat space that is honoring the feminine, right? This is something that I have a lot of experience doing. And so whether you're a woman listening to this, you're a man, you don't associate with man or woman listening to this, just feeling into, if you could hold a space for the feminine, what would that do for your life? If you could suddenly hold a different space for the feminine that would allow the feminine to flourish, what would that do for your life? What would that do for other people in your life? What would that do for environments that you're in, right? We're in an environment, in a community, in a work environment, in a family environment. We're all co-creating. We're co-creating that whole experience. But you now suddenly bring in this capacity to hold a space that is nourishing, that is love-filled, that is accepting of the feminine, right? What changes? What changes? What changes in your relationships? What changes in family dynamics, group dynamics? And now here's another question. What changes in you? What changes in you? You step into this capacity to suddenly hold a nourishing, love-filled, very accepting space for the full of the feminine. The full of the feminine, right? All of those gifts that the feminine holds. What changes? What changes? For some, you might be feeling like, that's all I've ever longed to witness and to hold space for is just the beauty and the essence and the love of the feminine. Oh my gosh, if I could hold a space or create a container for that, that blows my heart open. That fills me. That fills me in a way. That allows me to feel maybe more masculine. It allows me to feel more purposeful. It allows me to feel full because I'm able to facilitate this. I'm able to hold this. I'm able to create this. And then I am gifted by what I'm witnessing. I'm gifted by what I'm holding. I'm gifted by what's presented because it is just, it is essentially beauty and life and love pouring right out in front of me. On the flip side, so you may identify with that one, but you might not. It's perfect. There's nothing right or wrong. This is a good exploration to what we talked about earlier, our blueprint, right? Our masculine, feminine blueprint, finding that for ourselves, the authentic one. So if you don't identify with that one, feel into this one. You have this capacity to provide that space, right? You have this capacity to provide that space. But you're providing that space that is nourishing, nurturing, safe, accepting, loving of the feminine, and you're providing that space so that you can be in that bliss, joy, pleasure, open, alive, flow, creative space, anytime, anywhere. You have created the capacity to do that. You can do it while walking down the street. You can do it in the grocery store. Because it's a skill to create that container that keeps you safe. I know this is a huge one. This is the one that, like, the mind might be going off because I push the edge a little bit. It's helpful to push the edge, but just honor if it's pushed the edge and you're like, there is no way I could ever walk down the street and be safe. That's a belief. Totally respect that. But what if there's an energetic way that you can walk down the street? You are so fully alive. You are so fully flowing. Your feminine is able to move through your system, and you are so safe. Because there's also an energetic that goes, I am claimed. You might not like that word either. I am I can't use another word. I don't have one. There's no other word that's inserting itself there, so we're going to have to go with it. Swap it out if you need to. I am claimed. There is nothing that is coming into my space, right? It's like I am fully alive. I'm fully in my feminine. And we don't even have to go to a public space, right? That might not be where you're at. It might just be, Sabrina, I actually just want to dance in my kitchen in my feminine by myself, right? I've already got a safe-ish space. I just want to be able to dance in my kitchen, in my feminine, or in the tub. I want to be taking a bubble bath and I want to just be able to go into my feminine. Okay, so let me feel into this. Feminine essenced beings, right? I say that, but let's go back to the blueprint of masculine, feminine. What is that authentic blueprint? And I promise I will do like something on this, a masterclass on this, so that we can begin to pick this apart and peel this apart. And maybe if that's something you're interested in, like write down, want the blueprint masterclass in the comments. But when we can be in that feminine, it is like rain in a desert, right? It is like our bodies, our beings, they've been dry, they've been rigid, they've had to think and do and organize and coordinate and manage and hold, and then they can just let go, and it's literally like nourishing rain in a desert, right? It's better than rain. It's like, there's a word that I'm trying to think of, but I won't find it. We'll just let that go. But what does the feminine need to do this? What does the feminine need to do this? Or what can we develop in ourselves to create that in a relationship, or create that in that space for another being or for ourselves, right? Whew. One is we've got to get right with our own relationship to the feminine. When we can move into a place that accepts her wildness, her fullness, her chaoticness, her ever-changing mood, ever-changing mind, ever-changing weather pattern. The feminine is the weather. The feminine is the weather. She is Mother Nature. She is Mother Nature. The more that we can come into right relationship with her fullness, her wildness, her chaoticness, her alive. She is life. She is all of life. And she changes like this. really, really quickly. She is connected to absolutely everything. She feels the sun, she feels the wind, she feels the moon, not consciously, but she's connected to all of that. She feels her babies over here, her loved ones over here. She feels this calling, this pulling. She is that. She is that. She is the web of life, and she is so connected to the web of life. And so the wind blows, right? And she moves to it. The rains start to come in, and she moves with that. So one is, what is your relationship to her fullness? What is your relationship to her fullness? What is your relationship to the feminine fullness? I do not care if you are in a woman body, a man body, a different body. I don't care. What is your relationship to the feminine? Because if you can only hold nice girl, if you can only accept nice girl, that is 1/1 billionth of the fullness of the feminine. You are missing out on, you are also denying others, you are denying yourself, you are denying other humans in your presence, you are denying environments or groups or spaces that you're in. You're denying it. You're denying it. Vice versa with the masculine. So I can hear thoughts arising now like, well, what about my masculine warrior? You know, blah, 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 blah. It's the same. It's the same, but we're talking about just the feminine. So one is really, really, really coming into this radical acceptance of the fullness of the feminine. And some of us have no idea what the fuck the fullness of the feminine is. We have no idea. 6 Faces of the Feminine, Rewilding for Women. That's a good overview of the fullness of the feminine. Just go to rewildingforwomen.com and you'll see, I don't know, 6 Faces or something. It's a good overview, right? It's not the fullness by any means, but it's a good overview. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. She's that too. Oh my God. Oh. You can see like what parts maybe you're missing out, or what parts you judge, or what parts you're not necessarily in an open relationship with, in an accepting relationship with. Okay, that's 1. 2 is when we feel safe. Okay, so point 1 leads into point 2, right? So when we, 1, stop judging, stop limiting the feminine, we come into a higher, more accepting, more open, more love-filled relationship to the fullness of the feminine. We then innately, automatically create a safe space. A safe space, right? A safe space. Because we're not limiting the expression of the feminine. We're going, there's this line someone used to say to me once, you be you, you be you, you be you, and would literally hold this beautiful space out here, right? This, I don't know why I'm saying out here. I'm trying to like give you some embodiment so you can maybe feel it on a deeper level. But out here, and would just say, you be you. Like whatever that is, you be you. And it was like taking the lid off, taking the limitations off. So it was suddenly like, oh my God, my erotic side could come out. Oh my gosh, because it's safe to. It's safe to, because I'm not going to be deemed a whore for my erotic, wild, sexual side to come out, right? That's just an example. I could go into many, many, many other examples, but that's a good tangible example. So it's this non-judgmental, safe space. It's also this safe space of outside of just the judgment, safe space. So I'll talk about this for myself. I know I was going to talk about it for retreat. Maybe I'll weave over to that because I promised I would do that. So if I'm creating a retreat for the feminine, right? It's a feminine-only retreat. Our Sexual Healing for Women retreat is a feminine-only retreat. By the way, that's coming up in September of 2021. If you're watching this before then, you might want to check that out. We do a lot of this deep diving into this territory. But so I'm creating that space. I will legitimately look at everything in the space, right? There's plants, there's water, there's good light, there's good airflow. This is all to nourish the feminine. So it's creating this safe space, this safe container, because it's a retreat at my house. So it's this safe space, this safe container. I will also ensure that the perimeter is no one's coming into this sacred container. No one, right? There's a gate at the driveway entrance. There's support staff. So if anyone happens to come to the door, which doesn't happen, but no one is going to enter this safe space. No one. And it's done through physical, but it's also done through consciousness. So this is, creating a safe space for the feminine. This is me not doing it for myself. It's me creating the space for others, for a group, for other individuals. It's creating that safe space, and it's quite literally permeating and penetrating the whole of that space with my love and my consciousness and my protection. You are so safe here. There will be no wolves coming in. There will be no outside, right? It's not coming in. It's not coming in, right? So just feel, how does that relate to you? You might have to, journal on this or think about this, but how can you create a safe space for either others, another, a group, or yourself? It's also for myself, right? I know when I'm taking a bubble bath and I'm about to sink into my feminine and just have a really good, deep, beautiful feminine practice, it is lock the door, even if no one's home, don't care. Lock the door, close the shades. Because it creates a space of one less thing that I have to think about. One less thing. If someone walks by a window, if someone happens to pop in, right? Don't have to think about the door, just one less thing. And it doesn't even have to make any sense. It doesn't have to make any sense. The feminine doesn't make sense. We have to let that go. She doesn't make sense. She's not rational. She's not logical at all. She's intuitive, right? She operates on a very different level. And so what could seem very irrational and illogical to create a safe space is exactly what creates a safe space for her. Okay, so those were 2 points. Let's do one more third point because we're starting to get long-winded here. One more third point is we've done the radical acceptance of the fullness of the feminine. What's our relationship to that? We've done creating a safe space. Okay, I'm going to spin this around on the feminine now. I'm going to spin it around. This is the final one. This feels like the most important one that I can share. There's 30,000 of these that I could share, but this one feels like it's the most important one. By the way, if you like this video, you want more of these, hit the thumbs up. If you don't want to miss a video, hit subscribe. If you want more videos on certain topics, leave a comment below. Okay, so this final piece, we're spinning it around the feminine. What is your relationship to your own feminine, right? If we're talking about, all right, what does the feminine need to flourish? She also needs to be alive and awake in us. She needs to be alive and awake in us. She needs a nervous system that can handle her. She needs an endocrine system that can handle her. She needs the organs to be able to handle her, the bones to be able to handle her. She needs the pleasure system to be able to handle her. She needs the wiring to be able to rewire, to hold her, to allow that to flourish. So it's activation. It's activations. It's activations. We could create the safest space for you on the planet. We could honor the fullness of the feminine. But until we awaken her within us, right? Until we awaken and we activate, right? We activate the feminine within us and we practice. We come into spaces where we can move that way. We can breathe that way. We can start to work through the blocks to that, work through the armoring, work through the rigidity, work through the pattern conditioned body responses that are linear, wear a gray suit, go to work, organize, blah, 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 right? And so it's activating. It is activating her. And you see all this goddess work. I just saw this question in our Facebook group, is goddess work, like what's the point of archetypal work? What's the point of goddess work? Like what is it? Well, goddess work is literally going for 100 different threads of the feminine. 100, but you could go for 1,000. There's an infinite amount of different flavors of the feminine. We work with 36 in rewilding. So all of these different flavors, and it's literally awakening this flavor, awakening then this flavor, awakening this flavor, awakening this flavor. And what you're doing is you're giving yourself the capacity to express the fullness of the feminine. Because most of us have come in expressing like 3 or 4. Okay, there's probably more than that, but like maybe in our current society, if I'm going to just take an average, we probably express 10%, without finding spaces where these activations are encouraged, where transmissions, feminine works by transmission, feminine works by embodiment, right? If I'm here and I'm embodying like Venusian, right? Just like Aphrodite, Venusian, it's just like this love, it's just love. I'm kind of going a little bit further. It's just love, and I'm connected to love, and all that I want to do is just honor beauty in me, honor beauty in you, beauty in the world, and I just want to love. All I want to do is like break my heart open and love. Just love. I just want to pour love onto everything and into everything, right? And so we get in a space like that, and that is a transmission, right? That's how the feminine comes alive. That's how the feminine comes alive. She comes alive by the flavor. I used to say these words of, that particular energetic in me speaks to that particular energetic in you. And the first response might be fear. It might be rage. It might be grief. It might be competition. It might be lack of worth. It might be not enoughness. It might be whatever. And that's what we work through with the energy. We work through it. That's it. That's it. It's not that one's not available to you. It's not that one isn't you. It's just that one's got a little bit of rubble in the line, right? There's a little bit of energy blocking it. That's it. And it's like blowing out the line, right? Just my mom's outside with an air hose, and I'm thinking of just like blowing out the line. You're blowing out the line, and anything that's in that line, any little rocks or pebbles or things that are getting in the way of that expression, you just whoosh, gone. And then it's alive, and the liberation that comes from that, the health that comes from that, the physical health, the mental health, the emotional health, the clarity in purpose, the clarity in intuitive moments, the clarity in how to make decisions changes. Our relationship to our bodies changes, our relationship to our creativity, our life force, how we can receive love, how we can give love, all of that changes. Okay, wow, this video got really long. I hope that it serves. If it served in some way, let me know. Let us know. I read the comments. The team reads the comments. It helps me to create videos. So if this served, maybe you want to share it with someone. That totally helps us too. And it's kind of like the greatest thing that you can do. If you want to come here to the retreat center, if you want to work on this feminine essence, either in masculine or in feminine form, we've got 2 retreats. One is open to all genders, where we'll work with both masculine and feminine energies. Right? And then one is open to just women, just those who primarily identify as women. And that's also working with both energies, but more specifically with this feminine, the different flavors of the feminine. They're called sexual healing and awakening retreats. They're not specific to sexual healing. That's just kind of our doorway in. It's that essence, because that essence is so gosh darn powerful. That is so gosh darn powerful. one of the most powerful forces we can work with. So why not go through that door and allow that energy that's innate to our bodies to be what awakens us, to be what heals us, to be what shifts us, what moves us. Yeah. Wow. Just so much love to you. And I will see you where I see you, when I see you, and how I see you. Mwah.